Recording in progress.
Well, Friday meeting in order. Osage regular meeting June 6, 2025. 10 o'clock, and as our custom and tradition, we have an opening prayer. Secretary, could you render us a prayer, please?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for this month. And as you know, this is a special time for Osage people. Bless all of us that are out there dancing, and our singers, our elders.
Yeah.
And bless us here on the council. Help us to make the right decisions. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Yeah. Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Bayforce?
Here.
Second Chair Tishawala?
Present.
Councilwoman Irwin? Here. Councilman Redcorn?
Here.
Chairman Red Eagle?
Here.
Councilman Rebar?
Present.
Councilman Shackelford? Councilman Shackelford? Councilman Waller?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Lacey. On the new business 214 lease, Marlenia Kraus, is she here today?
She was not here. Her road washed out or flooded or...
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna suggest, I'll give her a call and tell her to call the superintendent on that, I mean.
Maybe she'll need them rocks now, ain't it?
I think that's something the BIA can take care of. So we'll go down to new business section B. I'll give it. It's in your book, you ought to read about it. He's gonna do some work on the campus here, I believe. Kind of explains a little bit of everything, and it's he's not gonna be here either, is he? He's gonna be down to it. Bob, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, you got the floor.
Okay. All we're doing is we're working on a infrastructure job for the Osage IT department to put new infrastructure to all the buildings on campus. For the most part, it's going to be on existing power poles or using existing conduits, so we won't need to disturb the ground at all for the vast majority of it. But there are 4 locations on the campus where we will need to place new conduit under the ground. The target depth is 3 feet. However, if it can help us to avoid cutting rock, we can shallow up to 2 feet or even 18 inches. So we're trying to disturb everything as little as possible. Also, we plan on using directional bore as much as possible for these 4 spots. And I mean, it's not always possible, of course, with bore, but where we cannot bore, we will trench and basically, dig a hole to the appropriate depth, place a conduit, and then backfill with the exact same soil that we extracted. So we will be disturbing some ground, but we don't plan on actually, needing to carry off any sort of minerals or anything. In fact, if there happens to be a little bit of, soil settling after the fact, we may have to add some in. But that's kind of the plan. That's what we're looking for. We were just kind of hoping for a waiver to be able to move forward with that project and get the new fiber infrastructure to all the buildings on the campus.
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you, Kyle. Any questions? Councilman Waller.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we accept this opportunity for you to sign on the waiving of the 214 lease. I'd like Mr. Giblett to at least give us the acronym meaning of ACRS for the record, please.
Motion on the floor. Second. Second by Councilman Bayforce. Any discussion? Councilman Redcorn, is that a waiver type deal or? Did you think, Councilman Rebar?
Yeah, thank you. So Kyle, to follow up on what Councilman Waller said he'd like to know the name of the entity that the ACRS stands for. What does that stand for?
Well, actually, the owner of ACRS is James Lightfoot, and so he's my boss, and he bought the company years ago, and I've asked him what it stood for, and he said he didn't know that he wasn't sure if it originally stood for something for whoever originally founded the company, but we just always done business as ACRS, and to my knowledge, it doesn't stand for anything.
So ACRS is a contractor performing the work for the Osage Nation IT department. Is that correct?
That is correct. We're ACRS is a telephone engineering firm out of Oklahoma City, and we are contracted with the nation to engineer their fiber optic jobs.
Okay, that's all I had, Chairman. Thank you, Kyle.
Councilman Redcorn.
Call for the question.
Second. Call for the question.
Councilman Bakeward,
Yes.
Secretary Tishewala,
Yes.
Councilwoman Irwin,
Yes.
Councilman Redcorn,
Yes.
Chairman Red Eagle,
Yes.
Councilman Rebar,
Yes.
Councilman Shackelford,
Yes.
Councilman Waller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you, council. There you go, Kyle.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Next on the agenda is item C. Letters, DOI letters to chief, Councilwoman Irwin. You got the floor.
Thank you. Well, I was wanting to discuss just a minute or two with you on this letter from Jason Bruno. What I get out of it, and what you all get out, maybe two different things, but that remains to be seen. Did you all know anything about the $500,000 that was transferred to the agency for a records digitalization project? Did anybody know about that? Do we know what it's about? You don't know what it's about? Well, I'll further check that out. But since then, it actually basically says, trying to get him the requested information that he had at the negotiation, get it to him, and if we were to give you any money, it would probably be about $1 million. But that chart he gave to us, $1 million would cover those jobs. But anyway, that's still a big if. But then, in the meantime, we get this letter from Jack Frank and pros plan for assumption of full self-governance of fiscal year 2026. I don't read much into it because it's not, as they would say, a done deal yet. He says, I believe, I propose. Those are not definitive words. They don't really mean anything. So this is what I'm looking for to happen. But then he puts out this public release on self-governance, and he's appealing to everybody but the annuitants. I mean, that's how I read it. But I just want to say that I believe our resolution that we did on May 27th was a good resolution, and I look forward to actually sending that down to Congress and, and give it to them, make sure that they know where we stand on this so they can do what they need to do. And wherever else we need to send that to, that resolution to. Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. And then we need to go ahead and send it on up to the area office and the other powers that be. So I just wanted to bring that up, make sure everybody's aware of all that, what's happened here. I'll tell you what, I do believe, they always talk kind of not real kind of us. And we do things in a different way here. We try to control our decorum and, act like professional people as best we can. But our resolution's all over Facebook. I read it last night. And it's a good thing. People are happy about it. People weren't happy that he was trying to come in and take over. Not at all. So I just wanted you all to know that that was a good thing. And they even mentioned Mr. Waller, thanking him for, making the motion for the resolution. So I appreciate it. And that's all really I've got to say on that. I just want to thank everybody for standing up. Thank you.
Any discussion from the Councilman Redcorn, you
You got several things on here, you're going to cover those, or?
Where?
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Where? No, I didn't, no.
We did, okay.
This is my stuff
Okay,
here.
oh, I got you. I read the letter too, I didn't know anything about 500,000.
Man, nobody did.
Ms. Irwin called me, I said, well, here's what I was told in Washington DC. I think we're the last to know. I think even Congress knew what all this was going on. Because when we get to DC, I found out what's going on here in Osage. They tell me they've never done this. But I told Ms. Irwin, I don't know, no one's told me on this 500,000. But when we were in Scott Davis's office, they were championing this GIS proposal this is going to be the means to hand over all this data. So I'm just putting 2 and 2 together, because now we get a report from BIA that a really good synopsis of our Wolfen wells. It used to be you got X amount of wells and that was it. Well, now it's all broke down. So I was telling her, I think it's, then I heard that individual is transferred over to the nation. So I said, I'm wondering if that $500,000 was transferred and done, and the GIS decisions were made, and then that money is there. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. Because when we meet biannually, we demand our records, and to little or no avail. So in the meantime, there may be a discussion going on between the BIA and the nation, and the $500,000 is gone, and we didn't know about it. Like I didn't know about what was going on here at Pahuska until I got to DC. Then I started figuring things out. Just our Scott Davis's group was telling us, and they had that same attorney that's been doing all this writing up of our regulations. That person was in the room that we've been battling against. So it seems like, we've got our direction in our way, but there might be decisions being made behind the scenes that we don't know. I don't know. Is it something we want to do? I would say no. I'd like to have our records. But I've been told by the person that the solution is going to be GIS. And that's how we're going to get our records. And I have a big if about that, because I know we've hammered through the notches. And even in the GAO report 10 years ago, they had 1, 2, and 3 dealing with NIGIMs. And I continually say in our biannual report for meetings, it's not sufficient, it's inaccurate. When you look into one piece, not all the wells are updated, the production information is not there. That's the information we need. Anyway, thank you, Chair.
Just on the NIGIM's comment, no, but I did remember when the feds talked about they're going to try to put funding over there, but they're not telling us that all that information is going next door, so we're playing catch up. But I do feel like in some consideration of this May 23rd letter that the nation has received, it actually helps us in many areas over the inherent federal function. And Councilman Redcorn just brought it up on what are going to be our validity on that and what are we going to get. I think we demand 2 things. Number one is that this 500,000 we're talking about, I wonder if they took the indirect cost of 26% off of it? First question. Second question is, why isn't this council deliver that information or option to put in the Nile gems that we actually wrote and got to receive it, as far as I'm concerned, and then to articulate the actual files? I mean, it's going to boil down to who gets those files. And right now, you got the government saying one thing, and they haven't been given to the nation either. And that's what I think we keep diligent on, is it's just like tracking the money, we track the files. Thank you.
Councilman Reaper.
Yeah, thank you. So, Councilman Redcorn, are you familiar with what the records are being digitized? What project that is? What kind of records? What does it have to do with?
This is my guess. When you and I were sitting in there in Scott Davis's office, they were touting GIS. So no one's told me, but my suspicions are that this money paid for GIS. But no one's told me.
You don't know for what purpose GIS.
Mrs. Kokonos told us sitting there, you and I, we're gonna use GIS to get your information to you.
Oh,
And I was going, no, that's not gonna work.
well, if we're talking about well records, and I don't know if we are, it doesn't say anything about well records. It doesn't say anything about what they're digitizing.
That I don't know.
I don't know, but first of all, my main point is all this literature under Councilwoman Irwin's agenda item, all this, if I'm not mistaken, has to do with the Osage Nation's litigation against our trustee, and this is contacting proposals or information regarding what, the subject of that litigation, which we're not part of, and at some point, I think we have discussed maybe intervening in that process, but I'm not prepared to digest and talk about all this stuff that's been going on behind our backs, because we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. So I'm not prepared to talk about this subject in this forum that we have here. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Chairman.
Councilwoman Irvin, Chair recognizes.
Well, I think my biggest concern in this compacting, and nowhere have I ever seen or read where the records are gonna be handed over to us. No. Because this is just my opinion, I believe that is a fiduciary trust responsibility. And I do not think that if they compacted, it wouldn't behoove us in any way. No way. And I keep trying to ask and find out, and nobody really knows. This is all just assumptions, it's not a done deal yet. So our main concern is getting our records back and making sure that we can, it'd be nice to have a one-stop shop like we used to have. Anyway, but I think we're working on that. So I really don't have more to say about that, except I will look into that 500,000 and some other things that I have questions about from that Jason Bruno letter, because they kind of talk between the lines here. They don't really say anything. But I've dissected it in many ways. I've talked to people about it. So yeah, we do need to stay on top of it, because, we get the press release and we have a lot of people wanting to chime in. And the first thing you need to ask them, do you have a head right? Are you an innocent?
I ain't starting on my talk like
I
that.
feel like I'm.
But they don't have a say-so. This is, we're talking
Yeah,
about.
but we always look at it, that's our future there.
Yeah, that's right.
I know it is with my kids.
Well, it is with mine too, but we have people trying to say they want to split the spoils now. They don't want to. We always were told the way. You wouldn't
Let them get elected then.
That's right.
Y'all
Okay.
did. We did.
Okay, that's all I have to say.
Chair recognizes Councilman Redcorn.
Thank you, Chair, and I appreciate your comments, Mr. Revard, but Ms. Kokonos is an attorney, and they are very aware, and I think she was brought up to lawsuit. So she was guarded on what she was telling us while we were in Scott Davis's office, but she was pretty free flowing on the GIS solution, which if you mess with GIS and we've messed with the NIGIMs, we didn't get what we were promised. And I put that to Ms. Coconuts on many, many meetings, 14 we've had, maybe more. Every time we dig into one lease, it was inaccurate. The production data was not in it. That's supposed to be our tool to determine value so we can go make a lease assumption. But it's not accurate, it's not correct, in my view. So I think the discussion, and then we got an outside discussion, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. I know this mineral council wants a records, and I stand by that. I think it's just a solution has been made to do GIS without telling us. But if you talk to us, the minerals folks, we know that stuff's not accurate. So we're probably gonna get $500,000. That's my guess. I don't know. No one's told me. Councilwoman Irwin asked, does anybody know about this 500,000? And she asked me on the phone. I said, no, but here's my guess. It's flowing into GIS. I don't know. No one's come and said, Mr. Councilman Redcorn, this $500,000 has been used for this. So just another solution that I think we need to be involved, or a problem for a solution that we haven't been advised or questioned or considered. Thank you, Chair.
Anybody else? I just had one comment. You mentioned Washington D.C. and Scott Davis, and he was a deputy assistant secretary of the Interior. He was titled. One thing that really bears in mind when we talk about records and we talk about leases and talk about the Osage Nation, you gotta remember that it's a trust. It's a mineral trust, and it's protected. It's protection, And I heard one old man tell me one time. He said, "If you ever lose that trust, you better watch out for the ranchers, the people that own the top circles." He said, "If you lose that trust, they're going to be hard to do."
Overnight.
Yeah. That's all I have to say. I just got a couple announcements. The quarry deal, it's going to put in new microphones in here. They'll be working on this next Monday or Tuesday. Starting Monday or Tuesday. So we'll have our own microphone. And you can shut people off when you need to shut them off.
All right.
And also,
I'll be able to speak up. I'll work on my voice. I'm gonna work on my voice. Can y'all hear me all right?
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah.
That's about all I got. I might take something. Anyway, is there any reason to go into executive session?
No, sir.
If you want to, we'll go on to old business.
I would like to, please, Chairman.
I'd
With
like
the
to
council's permission.
table my amendment to 5230 yet. I'm not ready with it because I've had all this other stuff
Thank
come
you.
out that I've researched, so I'm just gonna leave it as it is right now. We need to table it. So give me a little bit more time on it.
You want to make a motion or you just want to?
No, let's just table it. We don't
Okay.
have to make a motion on it, do we?
There's no reason to go into executive. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. So, with regard to that agenda item that's being tabled, I would appreciate once Councilwoman Irwin has drafted the proposed amendment to that, I would request that she submit it to the staff, be circulated to the council members, so that we would have a little bit of time to review it before we, in writing, verbatim. Thank you, Chairman.
Hear that?
That's what I just said. I hadn't had time to work on it because of all this other stuff that's come out about this compacting. I've spent a lot of time on this Bruno letter, calling people, finding out what this means to them or what it should mean to me. So, no, I haven't had time to do it. So I had planned on doing it, but, this June 4th letter from the chief went out to Mr. Reddy. So I'm going to ask to have it tabled right now. Thank you.
So that takes care of that, and the next item is the committee reports. Lisa, you have the minutes for the last,
Last election meeting was on May 27th. Kenny, or Councilman Bighorn, Councilwoman Irwin, Chairman Red Eagle, Councilman Rayburn was there through Zoom, Nathan, Nikki, Julie, Hunter was there through Zoom, and Addie was there through Zoom. Discussion was held regarding the addresses on file for the annuitants. And it was brought up that, at some point, the annuitants need to take responsibility for their own addresses and update them with the BTFA. It's not really the mineral council's job to do. Chairman Red Eagle updated about requesting the list earlier than usual from the BIA, and they cannot get us a list earlier than what is regular for the election. It was asked if the BIA gave the list to the election official, whether that might be possible. But unsure on that.
The answer is no.
Starting route to Eldon. Proceed to Grand.
Good one, good one.
And then take the first left.
Oh, I got to go up.
Hunter's going to contact Superintendent Tremblay about that. Discussion was held on the notices that should be sent out about the election. An updated, or the latest policies and procedures handout was given to everyone, and I emailed it to those that weren't there. It is more up to date than the one that we had been looking at, so Chairman Red Eagle asked that everyone look at that to make any suggestions and changes. He did ask Julie and Nikki if they would be, or they were asked if they wanted to be judges. I believe they said no.
Yeah, it's a tough job.
Didn't even hesitate. Councilman Rayburn stated that, the days to get the signatures have been problematic in the past. And so we need to decide on a date and the date to announce the candidacy, trying to keep everything in mind. Just a reminder that there's no campaigning at the election office or the OMC office. We need to get a timeline for the election. Contract with the ballot people to have colored envelopes. Need to probably list that in the contract when we do it. We need to check with the superintendent about the list to make sure it is a format that we can use. Yes, evidently they've used MAAS in the past, M-A-A-S, and that's been problematic on pulling the list down.
For us.
For us. Hunter is going to contact the BIA about what format the list will be in. Hunter asked about his own email, or it was brought up about Hunter's own email for the Osage Nation for election business. Lacey said she would take care of that. And the meeting adjourned at 11:18.
Councilman Wall.
I like the report, the whole idea on the list itself. Just the second we get the availability of the election committee and board to receive the list of the March payment, the recipients, that's when I think this council just moves up everything on dates, requests, and updates, that kind of thing. That's all I have.
I think there's an information committee, Councilman Bighorn, you have any updates
Yeah,
on
I
that?
just wanted to update on our information and development committee. We've met twice, we're going to meet Monday. We met one time, 2 times, and we were starting to try to hone in on one specific problem. We'll provide details when we're ready to start one specific lease and see if we can launch that for our requests and how we need to get that information. At this point, it's so preliminary, I don't want to go into the details until we're ready. And then we'll bring it to the council. We'll identify the areas where we need to go, who do we need to approach, and go from there. My comments earlier are kind of in this same vein, getting our information so we can make value determinations for our limits. And so we'll meet every Monday at 3 o'clock, so everyone's welcome.
Every Monday?
Every Monday.
Okay.
Also,
Till further notice.
At what time did you say?
3 o'clock.
also, thank you, Councilman. Also, the well records from Harmony are being moved up to a container out here. I think most of them are up at the county center right now. So, if any producer wants to look at them, I would imagine they're welcome, to go out and look at them. They'd have to have somebody go in there and check it.
Sign in to review.
Or no, that's a bill.
That bill.
Also, the pipe sales. I had to go to the chief and get it started again. And he got with the procurement, and it's on the Osage Nation website. It's called govdeals.com. Govdeals, DEALS.com. Now it started on the 2nd, which is last Monday, and it goes to the 15th online. And people are already looking at the pipe sales, and I believe it's just junk pipe. Is that correct, Councilman Rebar?
Okay, so yeah, thank you, Chairman. I inquired about this and learned from Tim Goodpasture that the pipe being sold out of the Rainbow Yard, the yard that we found that the nation ended up taking ownership of, has our pipe being gathered from orphan abandoned wells and delivered to that yard. And it's my understanding that all that's there now is a list of tubing and rods, that type of material that's being put in an auction that Chairman just mentioned. It is all, according to Mr. Goodpasture, it's all used salvage type equipment. Nothing of any use for, to run down a well and use like that. It's not drifted and tested like what we have over at Calgary. I specifically asked, did he ever transport our Calgary pipe to this yard? And he said, no, it's still there. And he also reminded me that we have pipe over at the Gary Lester yard in Hominy. And that's a matter of a big concern and a big stink from the Osage Mineral Council 4 that's not been resolved about incidences, about,
Yes,
well, circumstances surrounding that equipment. But I will say this, I don't recall this council ever authorizing the sale of that equipment. I don't ever recall authorizing the Osage Nation to transport our equipment to their own yard. And I don't remember authorizing, having this auction. I'm not saying I'm not in favor of it, but I just want to reiterate that that's our pipe, the Minerals Council's pipe. And that anything that has to do with it, I believe should be decisions made by the 8 of us. And then finally, I'd like to make a statement. Councilman Redcorn mentioned this Production and Information Committee, that anyone's invited to attend at 3 p.m. I think he was referring to any of us 8 councilmen.
Right.
And not the public. Right. I just wanted that clarification. Thank you, Chairman.
Councilman Redcorn.
Just one quick add to your inventory of our pipe list. We purchased the gas meter to do our meter runs. All that equipment is down there. We purchased it, should still be there. Go.
We have a key.
Councilwoman Irvin.
You were talking about, there's some pipe or whatever at the Lester yard. What about the E.W. Carter yard? Do you have anything left there?
No,
I don't think we ever did.
there wasn't anything there.
Okay. Well, I was told there was equipment and stuff there.
That
I
ain't
didn't know what
ours.
they were
That
talking
belongs
about.
to Clemishar and a few others. I lived.
Okay, all right.
with EW for the
Okay.
Great Bend Drives.
I'm just asking.
Whatever revenue they sell is going into RS5 handicap. The RS5 handicap. Mr. Beartrack's here, I'd like to bring him up to give us an update on the well plugging operation. Mr. Beartrack? Thank you for coming.
Thank you, council, for having me. I don't have my computer, I need to double check my notes, but, we've been slow this week because of the rain. But, to date, we have, it's about 43 permits approved from the BIA. We have about another dozen that are in the 30-day public notice period. And we've plugged about 35 wells so far.
Average cost?
Average cost for the first 27 to 28 wells was about $25,000 a well. Since then, we've started running bond logs on all of our wells. It's added about $2,500 to $3,000 per well. But the information we get from those logs is invaluable.
Worth every penny. Thank
It
you.
is, yes, sir.
Councilman Regal?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, and thank you for being here and for the update. I would like to know on the contracting for the well plugging.
Yes,
Is that done through the Department of Natural Resources?
that's done through procurement and contracts through the nation.
And who is that? Is that Kim Goodpasture?
No, that would be, we talked to Ashley Lockett and the team over there in procurement.
So who is in charge of contracting the well plugging?
I would say, I would say the process goes through procurement, but our team.
Through what? It goes through what?
Through procurement, through the normal RFQ process. And then when we get the contractor's bids, our team reviews it. There's about 6 of us that review it. And
Who's we in our team? Is that the Osage Nation Department of Natural Resources?
Yes, yes.
And is that the entity that's directed by Mr. Craig Walker?
Yes,
And then you're under Craig Walker?
yes.
Okay, so my specific question is the process. When one of our lessees plugs a well, they'll have a petroleum engineer, usually, not necessarily certified, but somebody with that kind of experience that would, first of all, permit the plugging, which you all have been doing.
Yes.
And you say that's taken how long does that take now?
The average time for a permit is about 70 days. Right?
70?
70.
And that's gonna come down to 44, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
That's what we've been told.
14 days plus the 30-day period?
That's what we've been
For
told.
appeal?
Yes.
So that'll probably be very helpful for you guys. So it's my understanding that you all have this backlog of work to do, but you're just waiting on the permit.
Yes.
So you have contractors available to do
Yes.
the work. However, there's no work to do because you don't have the approved permit till now. You're saying now there's 43 new ones just recently approved? Or?
43 total, 43 in all. And out of those 43, we plugged about 35.
Okay, so there's still some already approved and just haven't got to
Yes.
it.
We've turned in approximately 165 permits we've submitted.
Wow. Okay, so back to the process. And I have a specific reason for asking this. Somebody has asked me, they want to be on the contractor's list. They're a vendor, registered through the Osage Nation's Tax Commission, right? That's the first step. They would be qualified as a vendor. And that's a pretty easy process from what I've heard.
Yes.
But there's all these kind of vendors, you'll have first of all, you have this supervisor, not necessarily a petroleum engineer, but somebody to oversee the whole process, to arrange everything. One of the first things you need, besides what y'all go out and do the site search and all that for the well and all, and maybe get some well records. I don't know how you do that, because we can't get them. But, well, I mean, it's really sad. So you evaluate what needs to be done, you permit the well. You submit a proposal to the BIA. They used to tell you how to plug the well, and you went and did it. Now they quit doing that because they don't want the liability if it wasn't.
When Mr. Beartrack said that, I was taken aback. That hadn't been compacted yet, so Kohler should still be doing their instructions for plugging.
Well, what they've done over the years, recent years, and it could be recent decades, is that they didn't want the liability of telling you how to plug the well and then it not work out right. So now they have the operator, the lessee, in this case, the nation, give them a design of how they would like to plug the well and think it'd be appropriate. And then they'll approve it, but they don't have any liability. If it didn't work, it's still on the lessee.
Yeah.
Don't say, I told you how to plug it. It's, you know, it looked reasonable to them at the time. So that's that process. But that's not what I'm getting at. I'm still getting at the point that there's somebody doing all that. And is that you, or who's taking all that over to the BIA for the approval first time?
That's our team. What our team does is we will get an orphan list from the BIA. We have specific quarter sections that we're investigating, and we'll request to see if it's an orphan, and we'll get that confirmed. From there, we request all of the hard copy 208s, the previous driller logs, anything they have on file. We'll get hard copy PDFs of that. Our team will go out.
Do you have to do it for you for that?
It's an email request. It's a formalized process, but it's not a.
No, you ask for it, they give it to you. Okay.
We ask for it, and they give it to us. Now we'll send a list in of 500 wells, and we may get back in 2 months a list of 100 of those. And so it's constantly working. So we request it takes a little time, and they get the information back. But our team goes out and, well, before we make the request, we verify that the well is actually there. We verify the well is in existence. It's not just something that's misrepresented. We check the well for methane, fugitive methane emissions, and we take our pictures to satisfy the permitting. There's north, south, east, west, ingress, egress, anything that would show history of a spill, oil standing on the foliage around it,
Ingress and egress.
ingress and egress. There's 6 pictures minimum that we're required to take for everything. Along with that, we do a desktop review for the environmental around it from Google Earth and from whatever records we have from the ONC website. We use that. If the well is if the well's in a condition where you can get a fluid level down hole, that's one thing that we try to get as soon as we can. We aren't allowed to be invasive by going down hole, so we'll use an echo meter, or if we have a plumb bob and a slick line, we can run it and tag something, but we aren't pulling tubing, we aren't trying to open valves that are shut, that have been rusted up. We aren't allowed to mess with the wells a bunch.
How do you determine if it has value or not, if you aren't evaluating the well?
Well, we are. If the well has a hookup, if the well is producible, if there's anything.
How do you determine it?
From the surface location. If there's nothing there, if the gathering lines are bad, if the well has rusted over, kicked over, if the pipe is moved inside the well moves because there isn't proper.
I'm talking about oil and gas, commercial amount of oil and gas. What do you do to determine that?
To determine that?
Yeah. If you may be plugging a good well, is what I'm saying.
Right. There could be oil and gas in there, but until we get a production test, like we believe there's oil and gas below us, but the wells that are out there are mechanically unfit to be able to deliver it. That's
How do you know?
person.
How do you know? What do you do to determine that?
Councilman Rebar, the chief secretary's got a question.
Pardon?
Are you through? Are you done?
Pardon?
No, you're not through.
No, I'm not through at all. I haven't even got to my question yet.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one thing. Maybe you could come back and tell us that procedure sometime. I guess maybe the people are in a hurry, I don't know. But my point and what I'd like to know before you leave today is this. Does your department organize everything? You'll get the rig operator. You choose a list of 4 different people with workover rigs, double, triples, or poles, single pole, double poles. You'll pick one of those out. Maybe I'll rotate them. We'll give this guy this one. You might have 2 or 3 going at the same time someday. And then you'll have maybe to drill out something. You may have a reverse circulator, power swivels, cement contractors, all this kind of stuff. Maybe a water truck have to come out and do something. All those different things. Do you make that phone call to each one of those contractors? Or do you hire one company and they do it all on a turnkey basis?
We try to find vendors, plug-in contractors that have all of those capabilities with
So you don't coordinate that, you hire them. So anybody that wants to get on your vendor list to plug orphan abandoned wells for the nation, they need to be a one-stop shop. They need to be the ones to do it all. To be that supervisor, to do all that.
That's what.
That was my
Yes,
question.
that's
And
what we-
but I was, all these other things are popping in my head.
There's companies that don't have the fishing tools, the wireline tools, the stuff like that. So we can subcontract that out through the vendor. But we look for a contractor that has ones that has cement.
Yeah, but you know, that's very limited. My whole point is that's really limited. Not very many companies that just do that. At least around here, all our contractors around here, they're workover ready, or they're a wireline, or they're a cement company coming out of Coffeyville, Kansas, or Tomahawk Acid and Frac, those kind of people. But they're kind of out of the loop because any one of those contractors don't have.
We gotta move on. We gotta move on.
Well, maybe.
Second chair, Tishwell.
Yeah, Fred, hey, whenever you get hooked up to the well, you can, pumping on it, get circulation going. On some of these wells, have you been getting any returns?
We do see some returns. Usually it's water. I mean, we've had a few wells that had oil in the casing, but once we circulate it out, it's
So
usually
it is,
just
y'all hadn't got like near, on one that's, maybe filled up half a bobtails or anything, no?
nothing like that. Nothing yet. No.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Rickman.
Thank you, Chairman. Before, and just remind the council, before the nation had it, we plugged 86 wells. The BIA did the instructions for that, and they would hand it to us. So that's been changed. We selected early on contractors to do the work, and then we wrote through the list. That's obviously been changed. We have the Mineral Council, in my view, calling the shots on what's going to get done in the field. I think that's the heart of your question, Mr. Rebar, and that's mine too.
Well,
The decision to plug it when there's volumes of oil and gas downhole. So, and I asked you that last time. I said, who's doing that? And he said, well, it's probably not good enough for the Mineral Council. What he told me was, our field guys are making that determination. I said, well, we didn't do that. We had a petroleum reservoir engineer involved. We had another geologists. That's how we handle it. That's why I believe all those decisions need to be made by this council, not over here. So that's the difference I see. When we ran the plugging program, we plugged 86 wells, $27,000 on us. So now we don't know what's going on. And my suspicions are, because no one tells me anything, is we're leaving value down. That's my biggest concern. We're making a decision with value in the ground, and we need to be consulted. And I think it's not just the plugging program, I think it's across the board. When you enter underneath the ground, this council needs to be advised on the compacting, the contracting, the data, everything needs to come through this council. I know you're only doing your job, sir. And I think you're doing great. You actually worked with us.
Yes.
Back all that was so you're familiar with what I'm saying. So the differences I'm hearing and I'm seeing it, and I'm concerned. I share your concerns, sir.
just real quick.
I've talked to Fred a lot of times, and called him up and asked how's it going. And he says a lot of these wells that they're looking at, the casing's bad, and it's been there for 50 or 60 years, and I don't know how much money I'm not an oil producer, but I don't know, it would probably take a lot of money to go down home again and drill that thing again, But I can see that your work's cut out for you. Customer.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Would you please provide us an inventory list, maybe on a monthly basis, of all of our equipment that you are coming across? Not only that's in the yard, but maybe as you're evaluating these wells, surely you're part of that process,
Yes.
making an inventory list. Would you provide that to us on a monthly basis? And then my question, is do you have a ballpark figure how many wells are on the orphan abandoned well list that happen to be on Osage Nation Road?
I have to double check that number.
I appreciate it. I'd like to know that. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
I know, Allison Herrera, y'all familiar with that name, Allison Herrera? She's a reporter for the Osage News. She called me and asked me about the well plugging program, and I referred her Fred. Anybody else? Councilman Wallace.
Just a very short, request. Do you have the BIA sign the 139 after you're done for pay?
Yes, sir.
That's all we need. That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Baker.
Just one other item, the plugging focus seems to be the ranch. I'm hearing, no one's knocked on my door and told me they're sending me a letter. That might not be the Mineral Council's priority. But it is, this is a huge trust asset for our Osage headright holders. Two things you gotta be. You gotta be an Osage and then you gotta be a headright holder to be here. And this trust, you're the beneficiary. We all are, just us. So any decision that has to benefit this group, and I don't think it's happening. I don't. I got a suspicion no one's knocked on my door and told me, but I've got so many shareholders that are hurt, and decisions made to take this value off over this way. I don't get it, and I don't like it. I think we need to be involved. We need to run the show. And I don't know what's going on, but that's, somebody asked me, the United States came and asked me up there and here. I said, I'm telling this board here, this council, same thing I'm telling them. This is ours. Now, I don't know how all this got over here. I don't know. But we need to do something. We need to concentrate on who the beneficiary is. That's a big thing to the United States. They're our trustee. They're our trustee, and they're supposed to, that's their job. And they're supposed to provide all the tools so we can do it. Right here on this council, we're the only elected entity from the Osage headright holder group. That's it. That's the only time this group of unique individuals can say something is in their election. And I think that's wrong. They need to tell their story. And we need to quit pushing them here and pushing them there. Get them on, and let's do what's best for them. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Appreciate your information. Good luck.
Thanks.
Any questions on the next item, which is item 8, meeting minutes? Anybody have any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion. So moved.
So moved on Councilman Wallace. Need a second?
Second.
Councilman Baker. Call for the question.
Second Chair Tishwala,
Yes.
Councilwoman Irwin,
Yes.
Councilman Redcorn,
Yes.
Chairman Red Eagle,
Yes.
Councilman Rebar,
Yes.
Councilman Shackelford,
Yes.
Councilman Waller,
Yes.
Councilman Big Horse.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion adjourned.
So moved.
Councilman Tishwala, need a second?
I'll take it.
Second, Councilman Waller. Any discussion on adjournment? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Councilwoman Irwin,
Yes.
Councilman Redcorn,
Yes.
Chairman Red Eagle,
Yes.
Councilman Rebar,
Yes.
Councilman Shackelford,
Yes.
Councilman Waller,
Yes.
Councilman Big Horse,
Yes.
Second Chair Tishwala.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, council. Have a good weekend.
Always.
Okay.